Rick, thank you for being here.
Hey, good morning, Keith. Nice to be with you.
Thank you. The title of this episode is going to be If I Can Handle My Thoughts and Emotions, I Can Handle Life. One of the things that our practice, the path that we're on, it is set up in such a way and designed in such a way that the focus is on you. It's not on other people or things outside of you that are having some impact on what your experience is. While those factors can definitely have some effect, the majority of what we experience in life that I've learned is how I am interpreting life, the narratives I'm creating about life, my attitude about life. And once I understood that, I started asking, why am I thinking this way? Why are my thoughts always bothering me all the time? And one of the things I learned was is that if I can begin to handle my thoughts, not suppress them, not resist them, but begin to handle them, then I'm able to handle life. And when I wasn't able to handle them, and that took a lot of different forms. One of the ways was avoiding them, suppressing them, trying to be more positive in what the negative thought was. When I was doing or blaming other people or life. When I was doing that, I was really not making any progress in terms of growth and development. However, when I started to say, like, man, this is not about anybody out there, this is about me. The driver in front of me, like, they're just doing their thing. I'm the one making this a problem. The same thing in the workplace when I had a new supervisor, a boss, that managed things differently than what I did. I was the one creating that experience for myself. They were just doing what they do, and I have really made it a priority that when something bothers me, the beginning and ending of my attention of applying some kind of effort to resolve the issue begins with me. Every single bit of it is me. And what I found is once I changed my attitude about someone or something, it's a whole different experience. Whole different experience. Living here in Arizona with the summers being, 115, 120 degrees, the moment that I stopped complaining about the weather, it stopped bothering me. But it's still 115. That's like it's like magic to me. The minute that I stopped complaining about early mornings when I was in well, I complained the whole time I was in the Marine Corps. But the moment that I stopped complaining about having to get up to do something other than working out. Like I don't complain about getting up to work out. I just accepted that. But other things, I was able to get on with it and it not bother me. And I found that when I can do that with respect to people and with life situations, the whole thing changes. I remember when I was going through an IRS situation, Rick, this is, I'm sure it has not happened to you, but when you get a letter from the IRS and it's not a check, it doesn't exactly. Gratitude is not the first thing that I felt when. So I remember getting this letter and a subsequent phone call because I let the letter sit there for I don't know a couple of years. So it turned into a phone call, and I remember when I had to really finally face that music. The moment that I said to myself, I want to be on the other side of this. So whatever it takes to deal with the situation, to get on the right side of getting my tax situation straight. Uh, it was a load lifted, Rick. It was a psychological like unweighting that happened. But the whole time leading up to that, I couldn't handle it, so I was avoiding it. I was putting it off, and that's one way to get through life. But another way is just to take on what's there. But it was me. It wasn't the IRS doing it. The IRS is, an institution that does what it does. It was Keith that was making this a problem. And once I stopped making it a problem and I started dealing with it, everything changed. I see people do the same thing with their health. I mean, if you have the capacity to get off medication, then get off medication. I mean, there are some instances where that is not the case. And of course, you're under the supervision of a physician or a healthcare provider. So hopefully they are guiding you on that. But for the people that can, I mean, like, do it. Like, it's that serious. It's not about anything out there. It's all about you. It's all about you. And if you can continuously work on yourself, learn how to handle those thoughts. Like, you're the boss in here, not the thoughts, not what your mind says. You're the boss. You're the one who observes the thoughts. And it can totally make a difference. And for those rare situations, well, I don't know how rare they are, but for the situations in which you find life that there's nothing that seems to be, I don't know, present in the situation that would make you feel grateful, or there is a person that you are interacting with to where you think there's nothing redeeming about them. Try to find someone who feels differently about that situation, who could help you see it differently. And that's key. And you and our other friends have been that for me. That the moment that I see something as being undesirable, not beneficial, you all can help me see it in a different way. And that's another way to get that leverage on the personal mind. What are your thoughts, Rick, about this topic of if I can handle my thoughts and emotions, I can handle life?
Well, I agree with all of the things that you mentioned, Keith. You've been on a very strict path, and you're a shining example of how you are able to correct your attitude whenever you feel like you're going in the wrong direction, not only with the IRS, but all of your work experience and what you're doing at Mayo's. It's incredible. My feeling is that I would go a little further. I would say that you live entirely in your mind, entirely. It's not that some things are so big that you can just yield, just give up to whatever the external pressure is. You always, 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 even if you're in a concentration camp, as Viktor Frankl says, and I've never been there, so believe me, I've never had that kind of pressure. But in his case, he said that was not going to cause me to look at life in a way that was different than accepting and then also getting rid of the complaints and trying to find something good from it. So I guess my point would be that your entire life is lived between your ears. It's all in your head, everything. And you can either make it a pleasant place, you can make it a terrible place, a dark place, or you can make it something where you let go of all your complaining about the externals, which opens up space for you to solve problems that you think are unsolvable when you're looking at it strictly from the standpoint of how terrible this has happened to me. That has to go. That number one, you got to stop complaining. You got to stop thinking that this is terrible and it's unjust and unfair, and start whining about all the reasons why mom loved your sister better. It doesn't get you anywhere. Last point I would make about this is that one of the things that I found terribly troubling about myself that I didn't like, absolutely hated, apart from being a complainer and a judger, but being a complainer, I hated. I mean, I liked it. It felt good at the time, but it took me down the wrong path and caused a lot of trouble for me. And so once I started to evolve out of that and stop complaining a little bit each day, a little less, a little less, a little less, and more accepting of things, I started to realize that I have the control to be anything I want to be at any moment in my head. And that inner gyroscope, that little balance wheel, never can be tilted. It just can't be based on anything that's external. I've got to keep that strong, and I've got to keep it in a way where I'm not complaining and I'm not bitching about life throwing me curves. That's all life does, throws you curves. All it does. Every day, every day, every day, every day. I thought I paid that bill. No, you didn't pay the bill, and now you owe interest. Oh God, how am I going to make the mortgage payment? My kid got an F in his paper, or he's acting out in school and he hit another kid. Whatever it is, whatever it is, it's nonstop forever. To the extent that you think you're going to get to a place where there's a plateau and everything is sweet and low, that'll happen, but that'll be 10 seconds after you're dead. It doesn't happen in life. So you want to develop a point of view of looking at externals controlling you, or do you want to have the inner gyroscope that controls how you react to every external? Stop complaining. Second point, last point, and then I'll shut up. I found that for me, getting rid of complaining went hand in hand with doing things for other people.
Yeah.
If I can get my head out of my butt and stop thinking about Rick and start doing things for others or thinking about others or just getting myself out of the equation, life is so much better.
Oh my goodness. Yeah.
So what I did when I was in the doldrums of this, going through a divorce, having an alcohol problem, my cases weren't going well. I went to the Maricopa County Hospital and volunteered in the burn unit. When I say volunteered, I mean I just showed up and I talked to people, and seeing people who were in a position where they had nothing going for them and in pain all the time, but having a reaction to me being there just as a visitor who cared about them, that really made my heart warm, gave me goose pimples. And so it sounds like a terrible thing to do. Who'd want to go see a bunch of burned people? Well, there's that, but it gets you out of your head and it makes you realize this is something that you can do for others, and you don't need to keep thinking about how it relates to you all the time. So I'm a very selfish person, and this really helped me get out of that a bit.
Wow, Rick. You said it. I think that um man, that's just so important, giving up complaining and instead using that time to serve others. Wow. I couldn't agree more. That serving other piece has been liberation for me. When I'm serving others, I am not in the grip of my personal mind, and that is a big deal. I've said this before. People often ask me, like, "Man, Keith, what do you like of all the benefits that you get from this life this path that you're on? What's the number one thing? Inner peace. Like to wake up in the morning and not be bothered or disturbed by your thoughts. Rick, that is no small thing, man. That's no small thing. And to your point, it's not that life isn't going on around me with potential challenges or that people, aren't showing up, as their best. All that is happening. But to be peaceful while that's going on, that is an inside job. Inside job. And so you can have that like all the time. Why wouldn't I do something like that I can have all the time? Well, that's why we're on this path. Rick, thank you so much. I love you.
Oh, Keith, well said. I love you, buddy. We'll see you next time.
See you next time.